And there are buildings, because of this celebrity thing I just mentioned, architects sort of, well, architects are human too. Sometimes they thought we are artists. But architecture is never installation artists, or an installation art. When you don't like an installation art, you can move it away, dismantle it. But architecture, we're there for a long time. So architectures are not installation arts. But sometimes some architect may have a bigger ego and thought they are artists and they can do whatever they want with their product. And then there are architects who want their product to look good on the skyline, from afar, or from a car. But they may not be good for the residents in the neighborhood. They are not considering how a user of the neighboring streets or the neighboring buildings are affected by their own building. So they do not consider the context. So there are many angles to be a good architect, and it's not only the shape, the form, but somehow our media are more focused on the formalism of an architecture, how it looks, how they use words like, wow, it looks great, it's overwhelming, or something like that, as if they are watching a fashion show or whatever. And then they use all these, they take a very aesthetic approach to the architecture, not a social approach. And again, I try to raise the social side of architecture. Well, it's all on the booklet, the six points. The first one, what is it? The first one is urbanist. As I've said, the city is more important than the individual building. Architects must love the city. I mean, love the texture of the city. They need to know how a city works. They must be an urbanist. Of course, there are buildings outside of the city or in the countryside as well. But since most people are destined to live in the city, I think it's important that we design our city better. But many architects are bad urbanists. Architects are often bad urban designers. We have a very misunderstanding that architects know urban designs. It does not. As I've said, most architects are either working with a developer or he tried to show off his own product. So he or she may not be that aware of the effect of his product in the city. For instance, that they may try to wall off its own building, so it became a kind of castle in the city, and that killed the neighborhood. That killed the commerce of the neighborhood, things like that. So first of all, I think architects should be aware of the how a good city works. He or she should be an urbanist, first of all. And secondly, as communitarians or community builder, many architects build buildings that exclude people or destroy the mature community. But instead, if he or she work carefully, architecture could be inclusive. For instance, in the Vancouver Expo land, the government asked the developer to include housing for different castes and different sectors of the community, with some the developers, when they redevelop the Expo land, some are for the wealthy people, but they have to reserve certain amount of the flats for lower income people. So it's all blended together. And who's doing it? Li Ka-shing was doing it. Li Ka-shing took the Expo land and redeveloped it. But since the government knows how to ask Li Ka-shing to comply to their requirement, even a Hong Kong developer can come up with new developments that's for a mixed community with some luxury apartment buildings and then estates for the local poorer sectors. That really helped the city to have a good mix of occupations and well, it's not really absentee landlords, but people really live there. So it worked. If the government knows how to ask for that, developers who are aiming at profits could come up with plans. It did not happen in Hong Kong because our government did not ask the developers to do things like that. We moved our poor people to estates outside, at the outskirts of the city, and it stigmatized them. As in places in France, and they move it to the peripherals of the cities, and it stigmatizes them. They should be all in the urban area, and we should all have a mixed community of different sectors of people. But that's the second point. And the third one is architects should be environmentalists. I think that's quite obvious. And I emphasize that don't expect the developer or the construction engineers to come up with environmental friendly buildings because they may not know how. Architects is in a very important position to introduce good energy saving, environmentally friendly buildings. They should insist on that. The fourth is architects as contextualists. As I've just mentioned, they should consider the context of the building, not just the look and the form of the building. And they should consider pedestrians' view and the neighborhood's view, not just a kind of a majestic monument that's good to look at from afar. And number 5 is architects as occasional whistleblowers. As I mentioned again, they should warn people if the developer, whoever, did not follow their plan. And number 6, architects as archivists. Every city, every urban area has its own texture and history, and they should know about it, and they should try to preserve it as much as they can. Well, that's about it. Maybe we can have some discussion. Eric, thank you.
Thank you very much.